Alright, welcome back trainers. Today we're going to be looking at Magmortar. Now, I like Magmortar a lot. Electivire was always kind of my personal favorite, but Magmortar was always right behind that. So today we are going to be looking at the awesome Magmortar. And real quick, if you haven't already, if you're new to the channel, please drop a like and subscribe. It definitely helps the channel out. It's totally free, but otherwise, let's go ahead and get into the video. Okay, so Magmortar stats are going to be defense 67, special defense 65, HP 75. So on the bulk, it has a little bit of viability with that special defense, but otherwise the defense stat is actually a little on the lower side. So you definitely want to be careful of physical hits, especially physical ground types or rock types. So be careful of those. And then HP is going to be 75, so kind of lower middle for that. So overall bulk, not crazy good. There is a little bit of use in later gens when you have the assault vest, but we don't have that option in Brilliant Diamond Shining Pearl. So be careful with getting him hit. His speed is going to be 83, so again, middle of the pack, but definitely usable. Something you can use there with something like a C.Scarf and so on. Attack 95 and special attack 125, and special attack is really where we're going to be focusing on for this Pokemon. He really excels with a lot of coverage for special attack, and so we're going to focus on that as much as possible. Okay, so this is where the fun begins. Magmortar has two decent to good abilities, and that is going to be Flame Body and Vital Spirit. Now, Flame Body is really good for when you're breeding Pokemon because it's going to increase the speed at which your eggs hatch, right? So you don't have to take as many steps. So that's outside of battle. Flame Body is really good for that. So if you're looking for a Pokemon that you need to be able to use as a flame body Pokemon, Magby, Magmortar, Magmar, they're all in that category, and you can use that, and you can get it super early on in the Pearl version of the game in the Underground. So just know that if you have the Underground in Pearl version, you can go ahead and get your Magby really early on in the game and use that for eggs if you're doing that early on. Otherwise, from a battle standpoint, when you have Flame Body, it's going to make sure that if you get physically contacted with a move, there's a 30% chance of that attacking Pokemon becoming burned. And a burned Pokemon, especially a physical attacker, is going to lose 50% of their attack damage because of the burn. So whenever they attack, they're going to do 50% less damage than they normally would do. The problem that we run into with the Magmortar in this ability is that his defense, his physical defense, is only 67, so it's a little on that lower side. So getting hit, especially by a super effective attack, it might burn the Pokemon that's hitting you, but it could also one-shot your Magmortar. So you want to be careful with this ability and how you're going to use it. Vital Spirit, on the other hand, is a kind of a passive there that's going to make sure that you are prevented from falling asleep by things like sleep or yawn. So you will not be able to fall asleep using those skills. Now, if you use rest, you're still going to fall asleep. But if somebody uses yawn on you, you will never fall asleep if you have Vital Spirit. Now, Vital Spirit is the hidden ability, so you have to work to get that a little bit or use an ability patch. But that is usually the one that I use more often than not, with the exception of if I have a bulky kind of build. Now, even with a bulky build, he's never going to be crazy bulky because of that defense stat. But that's the only time where I really use the Flame Body for battles. Okay, let's go ahead and look at resistances and weaknesses. So he has quite a few resistances here. We got Bug, Steel, Fire, Grass, Ice, and Fairy typing, all going to be reduced by 50% damage, so 2x resistance here, which is great. That is nice, especially because there are some predominant typings in there that we see a lot in Generation 4, like the Fairy typings out on the field. So that is very nice to have that 6 resistances, and it's not like he has 6 weaknesses. He actually only has 3, and that is Ground, Rock, and Water. And as you guys already know, if you watch the channel, I always like to have my resistances twice over the weaknesses, and this is a Pokemon that does that well. So the weaknesses are Ground, Rock, and Water, and these are going to be 2x damages, so you're going to get 2 times the damage for getting hit with any of these typings. So be careful because there are a lot of ground and rock type users out there, especially things like Garchomp or Rhyperiors, Tyrannotars, and Groudon. So be careful of those big heavy hitters out there. And then there are some water typings, especially with physical attack, that can be big threats for you, like Gyarados, or even like a Shell Smash Blastoise could just absolutely dominate a Magmortar. So just be careful of what is out on the field with those typings, but you do have a lot of resistances to counter your weaknesses. If you're finding this video helpful at all, or you're liking it, please drop a like and subscribe. Also, guys, feel free to come over and visit us at the Twitch channel anytime you'd like. We do a lot of battles, raids, and trades every day, mostly Pokemon content as well as on Pokemon Go. You'll find the links down below in the description. Other than that, guys, let's go ahead and take a look at the rest of this video. Okay, so before we look at build 1, again, like and subscribe if you like this kind of content or it's helpful at all to you. Otherwise, let's take a look at build number 1. Alright, so this first build here, definitely going to be working on our special attack, and we're going to make this as fast as we can. This is a pretty basic build here. So 252 into special attack, 252 into speed. Throw the other 4 into whatever you want. I just put it into defense here. You can put it into HP or whatever. But special attack high, speed attack high, as much as we can boost it. Now the moveset is going to be Solar Beam or Psychic. Now this really depends on what you're pairing it with. If you've got a Drought user in your team, or you're setting the sun with Sunny Day, then maybe you want to go with Solar Beam here and give you that nice grass type coverage. If you don't, then you don't maybe want to take the 2 turns to use that Solar Beam, considering he is a little on the squishy side physically. So maybe you want to use Psychic instead. That'll give you a little extra coverage there, instead of having the Solar Beam that you have to wait 2 turns for. But again, if you have Drought or Sunny Day, I would pick Solar Beam. My personal Magmortar that I use is usually in a Sun team, so I don't have to worry about that extra setup. I just can use Solar Beam because the sun's already out. Now, we are fire typing, so we do want to have a stab bonus here, and for this set, I'm going to go with Fire Blast. He does a crazy amount of damage with Fire Blast, and with his special attack the way that it does just insane damage, assuming it hits. So if you are a little worried about that accuracy check, then you can use something like a flamethrower or an overheat as well. It just kind of depends. But this set here, we're really working on our speed, so we're going to be going first so we can hit fast and hard as much as we can. So I would either go with a Fire Blast or an overheat. You could do a flamethrower if you're worried about having to pivot him out and so on and so forth. But with this Pokemon, I like to have it where it hits really hard as fast as it can, and then you can change it out as necessary. To move on to other coverage, we've got Thunderbolt and Focus Blast here. So Focus Blast is nice because that's obviously going to give us coverage against certain typings that we normally wouldn't have that we're weak against, like Rock. And Thunderbolt is obviously going to be coverage against other typings like Water that we're weak against, where we can be a massive threat against those. Maybe they don't realize that Magmortar has such great coverage, and now you're hitting this Blastoise with Thunderbolt, and it didn't realize that that was going to be a thing. So that is some possibilities for you there as well with the moveset. As far as the ability item nature, we are going to be using that Vital Spirit ability, and we are going to be working on our speed again as much as possible with both the Timid nature and the Choice Scarf. So Timid's obviously going to boost our speed stat, and Choice Scarf is going to make us just ridiculously fast, and there isn't a whole lot that should outspeed us unless they have a Choice Scarf on one of their Pokemon as well. So that is a possibility, just keep that in mind. But this is going to make you super fast, so you can get in there and just punch something right in the face with a super effective attack, do your great coverage ability. Okay, so the next set here is very similar to the previous set. In fact, it's the exact same thing with the exception of the nature and the item. So this time, we still have our speed EVs up and our special attack EVs up, basically the same moveset. However, if you want to do more damage instead of being super speedy, let's say you have a Follow Me Pokemon on your team or something like that, then you can go ahead and do the choice specs here and make this a modest nature. Now, you can still do Timid if you want just a little bit of extra speed, base speed, but you could also do the modest nature to boost your special attack and choice specs to make you hit absolutely ridiculously hard and be a massive threat out of the gate. So if you're hitting with a Fire Blast out of the gate with your stab bonus, especially if Sunny Day is going, I mean, the damage is going to be unreal for this Pokemon. So this is the possibility for this moveset here. Again, basically identical to the last set, with the exception of we're doing more with the special attack here versus the speed. And the only other thing to remember with these two sets, the first one and the second one, is you're using choice items. And this is going to lock you into one specific move, and you're not going to be able to differentiate or differ after that. You're not going to be able to use Fire Blast and then use a Thunderbolt afterwards. You are locked into that Fire Blast unless you pivot that Pokemon out and then bring it back into the battle later. Then you'll have that fresh choice of choosing which one you want. Okay, so this final set here is basically the set that I'm using, and I like to pair this set with a Tailwind user and a Drought user. So what we're going to work on here is our special attack, of course, because we want to make sure that this Pokemon can hit as good, as hard as it can. So 252 into special attack. But then we're going to work on its very low bulk a little bit, and we're going to give it 224 EVs into defense. And that's going to boost its physical defense up a little bit more to kind of equal out with that special defense a little bit so that it can maybe not die in just one hit from one thing. And then we're going to put a little bit of EVs into the speed just to give it a little bit of boost in its speed tier so that it can still outspeed some of the natural speed tier that it's at. Now for the move set, we are going to, in my set, we are going to put Solar Beam here because again, I'm using this with a Drought user. So Solar Beam is a great coverage move for us with that grass typing that we can kind of cover ourselves with. And then Flamethrower or Focus Blast. Now this is going to be a personal preference for you, the user. I've been using more Focus Blast than Flamethrower because it does give me a 4th coverage typing on here. But if you're not fond of maybe using Overheat all the time and lowering your special attack, maybe you want to keep him out on the field as much as you can, then you could use the Flamethrower in there as a secondary stab fire bonus. But I've been using that Focus Blast more because I am using this set as a crazy heavy damage dealing and then pivot out and bring it back in again later Pokemon. So I'm usually leading with this so that I can do a crazy amount of damage either with Overheat or some super effective attack and then pivot it out and bring it back. So I've got Thunderbolt and Overheat on there. Now I've been talking about it, but just remember when you use Overheat, it is going to drastically lower your special attack down, so you're not going to be able to do as much damage. Now with a second attack, you can still do some damage, maybe a little bit more than chip damage, but it's not recommended. I would definitely switch out if you have the ability to do that. So for this, Solar Beam, Focus Blast, Thunderbolt, and Overheat are the 4 moves that I'm using for my set. Now again, we're using this with a Tailwinder as well, so we're super fast because of that Tailwind, but keep in mind that wears off pretty fast. So that is something you either want to switch your Tailwinder out or just be prepared for that Tailwind to go down, and then you're going to be probably slower than a lot of things on the other side. Now ability item nature, we can use either Vital Spirit or Flame Body here. I still like using Vital Spirit, however, if you don't have the hidden ability, you don't have an ability patch, Flame Body maybe has some use here because you do have a little bit more bulk in your physical defense, so maybe you have that ability to live after getting hit and then burning your opponent. Now for the nature, we're going modest because we do want to boost our special attack as high as we can as we're using Choice Specs. So Choice Specs is going to make us hit super crazy hard, but it is going to lock us into a 1-move ability here. So if you don't like being locked in, use the Expert Belt in this situation. I don't like Life Orb here because I think Life Orb is better used on another Pokemon on your team. So either Choice Specs or Expert Belt is kind of the way that I would go if I was you. I really like Choice Specs. That's what I've been using on this Pokemon, and that's what seems to do the best. You can see in the video, it's one-shotting Dialgas and things of that. And so that's those aren't not bulky Pokemon. They have some bulk. So this is a crazy heavy hitting Pokemon. Okay, so to recap the Pokemon, it's a little on the squishy side, so just be careful, especially physically defensive wise. Just be careful you're not getting smacked around too much because this Pokemon won't live that long if you're allowing it to get hit, especially by super effective attacks. However, on the opposite side, it can dish out absolute judgment on anything that it decides it wants to hit. So, I mean, it's great in that respect. It can do a crazy amount of damage, especially if it has something that the other thing is weak against, then it's probably going to kill the thing, especially if you've got Choice Specs on. Otherwise, guys, if you liked this video, please drop that like and subscribe. It definitely helps us out. We're trying to get that subscriber count up, so if you can, do it, and I appreciate it. Otherwise, thank you for hanging out, and I look forward to seeing you in the next video. But until then, take care.